Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammad Rizwan. Today we will discuss Pakistan movement from 1857 to 1947. Pakistan movement is a political movement that aimed to obtain homeland for Muslim majority areas in British India. Let's start our topic from its background. In 1600, British East India Company arrived in subcontinent for trade. Then, in 1616, Mughal Empire Aurangzaib issued a permit to East India Company for regular trade. After it, British East India Company dominated in the subcontinent. They established their military. Then, an important event occurred in subcontinent. In 1757, Battle of Plassey was fought between Nawab and East India Company. East India Company won the battle and dominated in the subcontinent. Now, after it, British East India Company conspired against Mughal Empire. They overthrew last empire of Mughal Sultanate, that was Bahadar Shah Zafar. East India Company overthrew the Bahadar Shah Zafar and sent him to Rangoon. Then in 1857, War of Independence fought between Indian and British East India Company. There are several reasons behind this war, like unlawful and brutal political, socio-religious and economic policies that became reason of War of Independence. Second, why Indian defeated? Indian made extremely good effort against Britain, but they defeat because they have lack of leadership, not proper planning, mismanagement, lack of communication. After it, British East India Company changed the scenario of subcontinent drastically. They passed Act of 1858. According to this act, East India Company abolished and Queen Victoria directly taken over the Indian government. After the War of Independence, Muslims emerged as a backward, illiterate and ignorant nation. At that time, they needed a person who guide them and educate them. At that time, Syed Ahmed Khan came and started Alighar movement. At that time, three schools of thoughts: Alighar movement, Uloom Deoband and Nadwat Ulema. Sir Syed Ahmed Khan started Alighar movement and revived the respectable position of Muslim. Three main focus of Alighar movement, that one is to show Muslims were loyal toward British. Second, encourage Muslims to get Western education and kept them away from politics. In this movement, Sir Syed Ahmed Khan established Muradabad School, Ghazipur School, and he also founded scientific society that aimed to translate English books into Urdu. And then he also established educational fund committee that aimed to collect fund for build colleges and schools in the subcontinent. Then in 1866, Uloom Deoband, founded by Qasim Nanotwi. Uloom Deoband provided religious education to Muslims and asked Muslims should gain religious education rather than Western education. Muslims should get religious education and know about their values. Then in 1894, Nadwat Ulema, founded by Zafar, At that time, Muslim needed a platform where both Western and religious education were imparted. At that time, Nadwat Ulema educates the Muslim Western, also religious education at a time. Then, an significant event came Partition of Bengal in 1905. In 1905, Lord Curzon divided Bengal into Eastern Bengal and Western Bengal. Eastern Bengal was Muslim majority area and Western Bengal was Hindu majority area. Bengal was divided, its main reason was administrative reason. Therefore, Britisher divided Bengal. Then, after partition of Bengal, Hindu opposed and started Swadeshi movement in 1905. In this movement, Congress, Indian nationalist leaders boycott foreign goods. Then an important delegation, Simla Delegation, 1906, delegation of 35 members presided by Sir Aga Khan met Lord Minto and present their demand like separate electorate and more seats than population. Then, in December 13, 1906, Muslim leaders felt they have own political party that sole represented Muslims. Nawab Salimullah Khan suggested Muslim leader to establish a separate party for Muslim. In 1906, Muslim League was established in Dhaka. Then, in 1909, Minto-Morley Reform. Britisher gave Minto-Morley Reform and accepted the separate electorate demand of Muslims. Then in 1913, Quaid-e-Azam joined Muslim League, and during this, his perspective was that Hindu and Muslims together struggle against Britisher. Due to his struggle in fighting efforts, a pact was signed between Congress and Muslim League. That was Lucknow Pact in 1916. According to this act, Congress accepted all demands of Muslim League. Due to this achievement, a political activist, Sarojini Naidu, called Quaid-e-Azam ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity. After it, World War I started in 1914 and ended in 1919. Then, in 1919, Khilafat movement started by Ali brothers. Question is, why Ali brothers started Khilafat movement? When World War I started, Britisher asked Indian to support us. At that time, Muslims put their demands. If Britisher, after the war, Britisher didn't divide Ottoman Empire, they will support in this war. Then when in 1919 World War I ended, Britisher backed the Muslims and divided Ottoman Empire. Due to this situation, Ali brothers Shaukat Ali and Muhammad Ali started Khilafat movement. In this movement, Congress also assisted the Muslim leagues. Gandhi started non-cooperation movement against Britisher. But this movement ended when Gandhi quit himself from Khilafat movement. Then in 1924, Mustafa Kemal ended the Khilafat movement. So, in 1919, Montague-Chelmsford Reforms were introduced by Britisher. According to this, first time in the subcontinent, a diarchy system introduced. According to it, reserved subjects and personal subjects were, in this act, reserved subjects were given to governor like foreign affairs, currency matters, etc. And transfer subjects were given to ministers like a Department of Forest, Department of Health, Education, etc. Then in 1927, Simon Commission arrived in India to solve constitutional deadlock, but this commission failed due to absence of Indian, because in this commission no single Indian were included. Then in 1927, Qaid-e-Azam gave Delhi proposal. According to it, Qaid-e-Azam quit from separate electorate demand. At that time, due to this, Muslim divided into two parts, Shafi League and Jinnah League. After this, in 1928, Nehru report. Motilal Nehru gave Nehru report. In this report, Motilal Nehru quit separate electorate demand of Muslims and also separate sin with conditional. After it, in his response in 1929, Qaid-e-Azam gave 14 points. In 14 points, he asked provisional autonomy, federal form of government, 1/3 representation, separate electorate. While in Nehru report, Nehru demanded for unitary form of government, control provinces. Then in 1930, Allama Iqbal addressed Allahabad, that is called Allahabad Address. In this, he demanded for separate homeland for the Muslims, and he cleared that Muslims and Hindus both were separate nations. Then in 1930, 1931 and 1932, three roundtable conferences were held between Indian political parties and British. But these conferences remained fruitless due to different opinions of political parties. Then in 1935, Britisher gave Act 1935 Act. After this Act, Britisher held an election in the provinces in 1937. In these elections, Congress gained majority. After gaining majority in 1937 elections, Congress established government in 8 provinces out of 11. From 1937 to 39, Congress ministries were established. This was a pitiable time for Muslim League. At that time, Congress ministry exploited, humiliated Muslims psychologically, emotionally, religiously, such as banned cow slaughtering and quota system and introduced Vidyamanda scheme. According to this scheme, Congress converted non-Hindu to Hinduism. Its reason was that to damage popularity of Muslim League. Then, in 1939 to 45, World War II started in 1939 and ended in 45. In 1939, Congress resigned ministries. There was several reasons. Two main reasons was Congress asked Britisher that you involved in World War without consulting with largest political party in subcontinent. And second is that Congress asked Britisher to transfer the power, but Britisher denied. After it, in this situation, Congress retaliated and resigned from ministries. At that time, Muslim League celebrated this day as a day of deliverance in December 1939. Then in 1914, Fazlul Haq presented Lahore Resolution, and it was written by Zafar Khan. In this resolution, they demanded for separate homeland and clear to Britisher and Congress that Muslims and Hindus are two different nations. They have different culture, different historical prospects. Then, in 1942, Cripps Mission came in India with constitutional formula. But unluckily, once again, both political parties denied it. Then, in 1942, Quit India movement started by Gandhi. In this, after it, Muslim League countered this movement by divide and quit policy. After it, in 1944, Gandhi-Jinnah talks started face to face via correspondence. In this talk, they discuss about their future matters and constitutional deadlock. Then, in 1945, a Wavell Plan and Shimla Conference. Wavell Plan and Shimla Conference. In this conference, constitutional reforms were discussed with both political parties, but they refused it and demand for separate homeland. Then, 1945-46, election was held in subcontinent. In 1945, elections were held in provinces, and in 46 held in federal. In these elections, Muslim won all his reserved seats and proved that this victory isn't enough to prove Muslim League is the sole representative of Muslims. Then in 1946, Cabinet Mission arrived in India. They proposed that interim government will be formed in subcontinent and members of provinces will form Constituent Assembly. This assembly will prepare constitution for India. After it, due to several reasons, both political parties, Congress and Muslim League, rejected cabinet mission. After that, Britishers acknowledged that they had failed to administrate the country. After it, they decided to grant independence. Then, Lord Mountbatten came India with 3rd June plan. According to this plan, subcontinent divided into two states, India and Pakistan. Pakistan gained independence in 14 August 1947. After gaining independence, Pakistan has not own constitution. So, in Act of 1935 was amended and given name of Independence Act 1947. According to this act, Pakistan was governed and administrative